Socialism has become fashionable again in Britain. According to a recent YouGov survey, 2 out of 5 people under the age of 50 have a positive opinion of socialism. Another 2 in 5 are not sure, leaving only 1 in 5 with a negative opinion. How can an idea that has failed so many times still enjoy such popularity? Part of the reason has to be that socialists have been very good at distancing themselves from real-world examples of socialism in action. Mention the Soviet Union or any other example of a socialist society, and socialists will invariably roll their eyes and say, "Oh, come on, now you're just being silly. Obviously, nobody is talking about that kind of socialism. Obviously, nobody wants to reanimate the Soviet Union." But while contemporary socialists are convinced that their version of socialism would be completely different from all historical precedents, they usually struggle to explain what exactly they would do differently. When pressed, they escape into abstraction. They talk about lofty aspirations such as empowering working people or democratizing the economy, which sounds nice, but these are not new aspirations. This is what socialists have always said. There was never a time when socialists deliberately aimed to create totalitarian systems. Socialism has always turned out that way, but it was never intended to be that way. Socialist revolutionaries have always talked about the self-organization and the self-emancipation of the working class. Even Stalin and Mao did. But democratic socialism is a mirage. Socialists like to talk about a democratized economy, which is run by the people. Those are nice sound bites. But what is this supposed to mean in concrete terms? How is this supposed to work in practice? How do the people run their economy collectively? Would we all gather in Hyde Park and debate about how many toothbrushes and disposable razors we should produce? Would we have parliamentary committees deciding how much beer we should brew? Would we have referenda on milk production quotas? What sounds good in abstract terms starts to sound ridiculous as soon as you try to spell it out in a bit more detail. Democratic socialism is only feasible in small agrarian communities with simple economies, such as an Israeli kibbutz. But you cannot run a large industrial economy, which relies on complex patterns of specialization and division of labor, in the same way. You would never get anything done. In practice, socialist economies can only be run by expert committees. In practice, an economy run by the state will always be an economy run by technocrats. But once you have an economy built around a central plan, there can be no individual freedom, because you cannot allow people to deviate from that plan. The different components of an economic plan have to fit together. If one part of the plan suffers, there will be knock-on effects. If the production of tires stalls, the production of cars, bikes and motorcycles stalls as well, and so on. The Berlin Wall was not built because the people in charge were all evil psychopaths. It was built because large-scale immigration jumbled the 5-year plans. You cannot plan an economy when the factors of production move around all the time. Suppose you draw up a 5-year plan based on the workforce numbers as they are today. Then, over the course of the next year, 250,000 people emigrate. This means your plan is now worthless, so you cannot allow free migration. This is just one example. The denial of basic freedoms is not a deviation from socialist ideals. It is a necessary requirement of a planned economy. This does not mean that only pure free market economies can safeguard individual freedom. The model of social democratic countries like Sweden and Denmark, which combine relatively free, relatively lightly regulated market economies with high levels of income redistribution, can be quite compatible with personal freedom. But socialism, that is collective ownership of the means of production and state direction of economic activity, is not. Totalitarianism is in the DNA of socialism. It is a feature, not a bug. I'm Dr. Kristian Niemietz, and you're watching Reason.